With the Venmo debit card, you can Venmo everything. Your favorite band's merch? You can Venmo this. Or their next show? You can Venmo that. Visit Venmo.me/debit to learn more. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. The card may be used everywhere MasterCard is accepted. Venmo purchase restrictions apply.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. From improving emergency response times to protecting against cyber attacks, local, state, and federal governments are innovating with Google AI. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Hello, Kool-Aids. Welcome to Barca Talk. I am your host, Troy, and we have a lot to cover today. But obviously, first of all, the players are back. So very happy to see them back from their summer break, training already. They have a really pretty tough schedule that Hansi Flick has put together for them. Let's, for a moment, enjoy some sounds of training from yesterday and today. All right. I don't know about you guys, but I love to hear players training and all the things that happen, the communication, the noise of the ball hitting against the boots, everything that's going on, obviously competition-wise as well. It's one of my most favorite sounds. I always watch whatever training items that Barcelona will put out on either YouTube or on Barca One or even on social media, because it's just one of my favorite things to do, just listen to training. No talking, just training. So hopefully you enjoyed that. All right, like I said, there's a lot to get into today, and so let's get right into it. Let's talk about something very strange that happened in this weekend. It kind of caught me off guard. And let's talk about Deco. Now, I was on Barcelona's YouTube channel when everything was going on with Lamine's renewal, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. I was on the Barcelona YouTube channel on the live event that they had where they had the guys in the studio. This is where you obviously have the open chat for Barca fans to make some comments. 90%, maybe even 95%, a high 90% was all Deco out. And I was like, whoa, like what is going on? Even people posted images of this or videos of this, what was going on. It was a non-stop stream of Deco out, hate for Deco. And I got to be honest, man, I don't get it. I don't get it. So let's open this up and talk about this, because then I listened to a YouTuber that's from England. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to even say his channel. That's a pretty substantial YouTube channel about Barcelona, and he loves to get clickbait, of course. And so he saw that there was the Deco out, the Deco hate, and so he made a quick recording about it, and there was a lot of comments on his channel about Deco, all the Deco stuff. So I got on there. I was fired up. I got on there. I was just firing stuff back, because people make these comments and they make these decisions based on the rumors of things that they hear and based on what they're seeing other clubs do. And for me, it's just completely uneducated on what they're doing and all the Deco hate. And let's kind of get into it. Now, before I go and back this guy up, I'm not trying to say that he's the very best sporting director that Barca could have. Maybe let's say that he's probably the best one that we could have right now, considering that we're running on a skeleton crew to run this club, because we had to cut finances from every fucking corner that this club has to make sure that we could be within financial fair play. That's the first thing that people don't understand, is we had to cut funds. I don't think most of these people understand how things work. So let's start from the top. When Barca signs a player in Spain, you got to pay that contract. If the player doesn't want to leave and they're fine with sitting the bench, Barcelona still has to pay that contract. So we had these massive contracts when Bartomeu was still here. We had falling finances. Money wasn't coming in because of COVID. And we had these ginormous contracts, long-term contracts that Bartomeu signed. And then we had a massively decreased salary cap, if you want to call it that, from La Liga based on Barcelona's financial problems because we weren't generating revenue at that point in time. So you're asking a president to cut spending, and most of the spending is out of his control. It's contractually obligated. You can't go to a player and say, we need to redo your contract, and if you don't, then you're out. You can't do that in Spain. In other places across the world, you can do that. You can just be like, we're just going to terminate your contract. In Spain, because of labor law rules, you can't do that. And so essentially, Laporta had to go cut funding everywhere. I mean, even the basketball team, even the women's football team, even our handball team, even the hockey team, all these places they had to go and cut funds. They had to go and just trim wherever they fucking could do it. And in order to do that, you can't go out and hire some high-priced sporting director who's been doing it for 30 years that wants to come into Barca and do it for the cheap. It's quite the opposite. If you're a established sporting director, you want to get paid. You're not lining up to come to Barcelona and say, hey, I'll do it for pennies on the dollar because I love Barca. That's just not what happens. So Deco was a person that was available and lined up with where we could be financially and has been doing the job. In my opinion, he's been doing the job of what's been asked of him. Has it been great? I don't want to say that it's been great, but I don't think it's been bad either. And let's kind of get into some things of the hate that I saw. And these are just random comments that I saw, but I want to use these to back up my argument. All right. So one person I saw, well, he's not the guy who signed Lewandowski or Koundé, those players that came in, once Laporta took over. And you're right, he's not. Nobody's given him credit for that. And also to sign those players, Barcelona had to pull Palanca's levers to get that done, where we basically were selling assets, selling percentages of the club in order to sign these players because we needed these signings to pull us out of the pit, right? We had an aging squad at that time. We had players that should not be playing for Barcelona, regardless of if they were previous legends or where the hell they came from. We needed to do things with the squad, and we pulled out levers to do that, to get those players signed. We're not pulling out levers right now. We're not pulling out any levers. So where's Deco getting the funding to make signings this summer and last summer? There weren't any levers pulled, okay? So that just reduces the ability for him to sign. And the big thing is Barca's not even back to the 1-to-1. So we can't sign. And not being back to 1-to-1 or even being back to 1-to-1, what that means is you got to have sales for every dollar that you bring in sales, then you can go out and sign. Well, we're not selling. We're selling like little players. We're selling like Pablo Torre. We're selling Pau Victor, Inaki Peña. They're not going to drive big money. And we're not back to the 1-to-1. So those players aren't moving right now, because moving them right now would only make it that we could spend like 20. The way that it works is we're at like a 25-to-1, and when at 25% to 1. And what I mean by that is if we were to sell Inaki Peña for $10 million, we could go spend $2.5 million. All right. So there is no money to sign. People are, and again, other comments that I was saying in this Barca YouTube channel and in other places were, well, he's not signing anybody. Well, who the fuck's he going to sign? There's no money to sign. Do people understand? Like I just said, we're not pulling levers. We're not in the 1-to-1 yet. We've been playing at a stadium that's not ours, where ours is getting fixed. Barca is generating revenue close to almost a little under $1 billion. But what happens is there's a time period of when you present your revenue from the previous period to La Liga, and then they set your salary cap. And unfortunately, because this league is ass backwards, because we got an absolute horrible person running the league, we don't do that in the summertime to establish what your available sales and window of opportunity is. We can't sign anybody right now. So then they're saying, well, he screwed up the Nico thing. Look, Deco's not the one who put this club in the financial situation where we had to get back to 1-to-1 and have some sales and have some revenue coming in from opportunities in order to be able to register Nico. He didn't do that. Everything was essentially signed until Nico's agent came and said, well, we want guarantees. And if you can't hit those guarantees, then Nico's free to walk after paying $60 million for him. We had that issue with Danny Olmo last season, and look at what happened. And Deco was blamed for that as well. Deco didn't get Barcelona in the financial troubles that they've been in for the past 4 to 5 years. He had nothing to do with it. So to blame Deco for Nico not coming is absolutely absurd. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're absolutely uneducated on what is going on with Barcelona and what can happen and what is not happening. You need to understand, you need to educate yourself on what's going on with this club and how things are working in the position that we're in right now. Then the other thing is Luis Diaz. So what? It's a player that he likes. I went and ran the numbers and looked at the graphics for the wingers that have all been talked about. Diaz, Nico, Lookman, Leao, Rashford. You can use SofaScore and you can compare these players to each other. Diaz had the highest numbers of all the wingers. Now, the margin was not great. I had said in a previous pod that all options available are really within the same realm of each other, but Diaz was at the top of the list. And people are saying, we're going to pay 80 to 100 million for a 28-year-old, soon to be 29-year-old. I've said the same thing. I don't think that that's the smartest thing to do. Has Barcelona gone and signed him for 80 to 100 million? No, they've said if he's available for 60 million or less, he'd be a player that they'd be interested in. If this is one piece that we need to get to the Champions League final and a guy that would be able to play here for another, let's say, 4 years, then 50 to 60 million is not that bad. But everyone's out here, he's going to pay 80 to 100 million. No, he's not. So if you're one of those people making comments that Deco wants to pay 80 to 100 million for a soon-to-be 29-year-old Luis Diaz, no, he's not. For one thing, we don't have the money. For two, he wouldn't do it. Like they're saying if he could come at a discount, because the expectations are that Liverpool would need to sell some players to make up for the Wirtz signing, 100+ million Wirtz signing. And maybe that's the case. I don't know. But in no world is Barcelona paying 80 to 100 million for Luis Diaz. The problem is the internal for Barcelona is high and wide, and it's way out there. And if you're someone who falls prey to the rumors and you're not able to read through some of the things that you see, my advice to you is to shut the shit off. Just stop looking at all of it. Stop reading into the rumors. Stop following accounts that are putting on rumors. And let me give you an example of the internal rumor mill. Supposedly, Deco had lunch with Xavi Simons. Okay? And this Xavi Simons story has come up the past couple years. And then the rumor mill went into full speed. Here's how things work in Barcelona. There are a couple responsible journalists that are in the area that put out information. And that's all they do. They put out the information. They put out the information that Deco had lunch with Xavi Simons, because Deco can't go anywhere in Barcelona without these people following him to watch every move that he does. He had lunch with Xavi Simons. Now, these reputable journalists had put out that this was just a touch point. I think it's pretty obvious the player would like to return. He's friends with players on the team. He's young. He's obviously from La Masia, left at a bad time. I think that the stories of him wanting to return are probably pretty accurate. So they put out these stories. Well, then you got all these accounts then on social media that then take this information and say, Deco wants to sign Xavi Simons. And then you're going to have people that are like, why would we need to sign Xavi Simons to play in the middle when we're probably going to move Rafinha into the middle? We already got Danny Olmo in the middle. We already got players there. So then you're going to start to say, Deco, he can't sign a left wing, but now he wants to sign Xavi Simons. I guarantee it's happening right now as I'm recording. I don't have Twitter pulled up. Guarantee you, if you go and look at Twitter, this is what is happening. You got these replicator accounts that I call them, and they take a piece of information and they twist and turn that information for clickbait. Xavi Simons, lunch with Deco. He's wanting to sign. I'm scrolling right now as I talk. And here it is. Here it is right now on Total Barca. I'm not saying that they're a bad account. This just happened 10 minutes ago, and this is exactly what it says. Deco has met with Xavi Simons' agent. The player wants to return. Here's another one. Deco had a meeting with Xavi Simons' representatives and brother. The operation is highly unlikely due to the player's huge release clause. The meeting was an only initial approach between both parties. Now, that's probably pretty good reporting. It's, hey, where are we? What's going on? Let's keep in touch. You see the two differences? Now, from total Barca, people are going to take that, and then here's going to be Deco hate again. Why are you trying to sign him when we need other positions on the field?
Hey guys, it's CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm partnering with Abercrombie this season to tell you all about their viral denim. All you need to know is denim should fit like this. My jeans need to check a lot of boxes. Fit first, trend second. They need to go with whatever I'm feeling. And Abercrombie denim has it down, whether I'm throwing on a tee or putting a whole fit together. Shop Abercrombie denim in the app, online, and in store.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
This is what happens. So that unless you're able to read through the news, between the lines, follow the responsible accounts, like I just said, I urge you to just stay away. Just stay away during the rumor season, because you're going to be like a ping pong ball being hit back and forth between what is true and what's a rumor and what is fake. Because a lot of these accounts love the clickbait. They love to throw things out there that are, like I said, twisting the truth. And that's how they build their livelihood, I guess, if you want to call it that. Now, some of the other hate is we can't do Rashford. We can't sign. Again, his hands are tied behind his back. And it's not because of his doing. There's nothing he could do about it. Now, he went out and found Rooney Bargi. Okay. Now, this guy could be a gem. It was a very cheap purchase. Very talented player. Has had some injury issues along the way, put in a master class against Man United, starred in that match. Those are the types of players that you look for, the types of players that step up in big matches. And that was a huge match for FC Copenhagen. This guy stepped up for his team and big time and was the star that day. And these are the kind of guys that you want Barca. He's been a Kool-Aid all his life. He's been sharing pictures of him with the Barca jerseys on when he was a little kid. So here we're talking about, this is something that's within Barca's means. And we went and found a guy that could be a diamond in the rough. Let's take a chance on him. Let's see what he's got. From all the highlight videos and the talk about him, he could be a very good signing. Deco won't get any credit for him. We need to take advantage of opportunities like that and go sign these type of players and see if we can get something for them, because that is what is allowed right now because of our financial situation. Also, Deco's went and signed all the renewals for all players within the salary spectrum that Laporta has laid down. And that's a lower salary spectrum. Let me go back to when I first started talking about Laporta had to cut costs and all facets of Barcelona. That included salaries of current players. So all these players that have signed renewals have had to fall under the guardrails that Laporta put, and it's a lower salary than they could be making elsewhere. 100% for every single player that's renewed. They could go make more money elsewhere. They could have said no to Barca. I want to go to the Premier League, make double the money somewhere else. But he's gone and made sure that we've renewed all these players so that we have our base locked up for the next 3 to 5 years. Anybody going to give Deco kudos for locking this team up? I'm just telling you that all this Deco hate, to me, is not right. All right, we're moving on from that because we got a lot of things to cover, and we want to keep this short today. The next big story, obviously, is Lamine Yamal has renewed, which we knew that was coming, and Lamine is our new number 10. Obviously, this kid's a worldie, and obviously this kid's going to be one of the best if he stays on the path that he has been, if he stays out of trouble, if he stays out of that Barca nightlife, if he stays focused, which I think he will. He's going to be one of the all-time greats. He's going to be one of the next Barca greatest number 10s, right? And I think that he will certainly join the team of the all-time greats. And so, again, he's 18 years old. And the deal till 2029. When this deal comes up, he'll only be 24 years old. How strange is that? But It's signed, sealed, and delivered. We have our number 10. We have Lamine. Now the club just obviously needs to take care of him. And like I said, make sure that he fulfills his destiny. I know that's like a very movie-esque type of saying, but that's the facts right now. He has a destiny to be one of the all-time greats for Barcelona, if not an all-time great in the world of football. And so the club just needs to help him get there and do what it takes to make sure that he gets there. So it's going to be a blast. Let's stop and think for a second. We have another all-time great. We get to watch him from being a kid like we did with Messi. Let's just sit back and enjoy this ride. He's not even in his prime. He's not close to his prime. And look at the things that he does. Just can't wait for the pure enjoyment of watching a player like him create and do the things that he does on the pitch. It's going to be an absolute blast for sure. Now, let's talk about some other player rumors. Obviously, the next big one is Ter Stegen. He's been training on his own. He hasn't been training with his team. He's been in the weight room. I talked about the rumor mill. We're going to engage that rumor mill a little bit more right now with Ter Stegen. And the rumors this morning are he still has some back issues. And so I don't know if that's why he's been training by himself in the weight room, or if he's been training by himself because he's forcing the club or because of what's going on and Barca having 3 other keepers on staff, but perhaps it's because of his back. There are still some issues, but the rumor is that he might undergo surgery, and then Barcelona would be able to deregister him for the first half of the season, and then maybe Ter Stegen rehabs and then moves on in January when there will be a little bit higher demand. We'll have to keep our eyes on this, but I've said it before, and I'm not going to back down from what my thoughts are on Ter Stegen. What he did at the end of last season by not fulfilling his captain duties because he was pissed that he didn't get the starting role back was absolutely dead wrong for me. He's undergone 2 surgeries already. He's declined in performance massively. And again, coming back from this surgery now to hear that, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind Ter Stegen needs to go find another club to play at. So have this surgery. If this story is real, that's fine. Rehab and then move on in January. We'll deregister you so we can then go ahead and register Garcia so he can be our starter. That's just what has to happen. I don't see any other way out of this outside of Ter Stegen leaving now within the summer window and then rehabbing where he's at if he definitely has back issues. Right now, that's just all pure rumor and speculation. I don't know if he does. If he does, figure it out, but it's time to move on. I talked about Rooney under Deco. He signed until 2029. Hansi Flick did invite journalists to watch the training this morning, and several of those journalists have pointed out that Hansi Flick was definitely spending time with Rooney in this training. Don't know what that means. Obviously, does that mean that he thinks that he needs much more work, or does he think that he needs to spend time with him to get him up to speed quicker because he could be an asset for the team? Only time will tell. He is signed, like I said, until 2029. Could be a gem. We're going to have to wait and see. If Barcelona plays their cards right and they get him under their physical program where they can reduce injuries, then like I said a few moments ago, he could be a diamond in the rough. He definitely is going to be able to provide depth on that right wing, but he can also play other positions. So we'll keep our eyes on Rooney. Again, I have good feelings about it. My predictions is he'll be a really good player, but only time will tell. Pablo Torre officially moved on to Mallorca. I think we paid 5 million euros for him. I think we sold him for 5 million euros. So we didn't make any money on him, but there is a sell-on clause that's included. And so we'll see if anything happens. It's a very good spot for him to land. He needed playing time. I think at this point in time with him alone maybe could have been suffice, but maybe perhaps it's just time to let him go and build a career, and we can generate revenue off of if there's any sale or not. But again, he's a very good player. Carlos on the last pod said he predicts that he'll have a breakout season. Again, we'll have to see if he does, but at least he's in a very good spot where they play offensively. These like to play open. They like to move the ball down the pitch, and it's a very good spot for him to land to see if he can be a top player. Also, Flick with the journalists this morning, he did say supposedly that he'll only take 26 players with him on the preseason tour to Asia. I'll have to go and do some research, but I believe that's lower than what he took last year. maybe he wants to have a condensed group. With 26 players going, that only leaves room for a handful, let's say 4 to 5 of the kids. I don't think that Marc Bernal is released off of medical yet, so I think that he'll be there with the team training. I don't think he'll play in the Asia Tour, and I don't think he'll take up one of those 26 positions. So if he doesn't, I think that leaves only 4. I'm looking at the numbers right now. I think that only leaves 4 spots. And I believe there's about 11 kids that are training right now with the team. So not a lot are going to get called up. Here's who I predict who will travel with the team. And then obviously things can change based on what's going on with the squad. But I've been high on Landry Fare. You guys all know that. If you listen, he's definitely for me training. Joffrey Torrance, again, a left fullback. I think that he will also train. Everybody's high on his abilities and his skill level. So I think he'll also travel as well. Jan Virgili, the rumor mill this morning was saying that he's definitely going. He's been told he's going. There was a moment where Flick pulled him away from the rest of the squad during training, and there's been videos shared of it, and they had some chatter. I don't know. Again, that's pure speculation right now that he's been told that he's going. I do know that he was playing lights out at the end of the season last year and into the summer. He's a fantastic creator. He can play on the left wing as well. That's an obviously position that's been talked a lot about, and so we'll predict that he goes. And that leaves one more. That leaves one more player to go, and I really don't know at this point in time who that 4th player would be. It could be Tony Fernandez. It could be Danny. It could. I'm not sure right now. I really don't know who that will be. That means that there's still 8 players to pull from, so a lot of opportunity and ambition for these players in training to make that 4th spot if that 26 players going is factual. So I don't know, but Landry Fare, Joffrey Torrance, and Jan Virgili are the 3 that I'm guesstimating that will be called up to travel with the first team. We'll keep you up to date on those players. The last thing for today, message yesterday was that the Gamper match was supposed to be played at the Camp Nou. That's in serious doubt at this point in time. Supposedly Barcelona doesn't have the necessary licenses yet from the city of Barcelona to have this done. This match is coming up very, very quickly. So we'll have to wait and see if we're actually able to play this in Camp Nou or if it has to be moved over to the Johan Cruyff Stadium where it's been played several times anyway. So that's one thing we'll keep our eyes on. The problem with not being able to play the Gamper match in Camp Nou was Barcelona has money sitting there that they can record for these VIP seats. And until matches can be played there, even at a reduced capacity, until that happens, Crow, who is the auditor, and ironically is from my town where I live, they're headquartered here, are not giving the thumbs up on recording the VIP seats revenue until we can play a match in there. So that is a big piece of getting back to the 1-to-1. So the spotlight essentially is on Limac and the construction team of whether or not they're going to be able to get this done. Now, of course, if they get these licenses and we can hold a match after the Gamper, doesn't mean that it has to be a La Liga match. It could be a week later where these licenses are provided and that's turned into the auditor. So they'll allow for recording of these VIP seats, and Barca's back to 1-to-1. Again, they had targeted the Gamper match as being the match so they could register players and get back to the market. So a lot is on the line with these licenses. We'll keep our eyes on that and see what's going on. That's all for today. Thanks for listening. Talk to you all later. Visca Barça.
Batallas que andan sur. This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.